A lot of business owners think they need to spend tens of thousands of dollars in order to figure out if ads are going to work for them. I actually had a call with a business owner the other day, and he thought he needed $30,000 in order to test Facebook ads because that's what some agency told him. Not at all. At least if you have what I'm going to show you right here in this video. So over the last 9 years, I've worked with over 100 companies, and I've seen them burn through massive budgets and get nothing, while others are crushing it with this strategy that I'm going to lay out for you right here. And so in this video, I'm going to show you the strategy that we use. We could take brand new offers and we can test them out with Facebook ads for less than $3,000. So if you want to be successful with ads, I think one of the most important things here is to understand like the mindset that you need going into it. Because if you're going to run ads, like you want to be in it for the long run, and you shouldn't expect to hit a home run right out the gate. Hormozy said it really well, but he was like, if someone in your market has figured out how to make ads work, that means ads work in your market. So it's not a matter of if ads are going to work for your business. It's a matter of what is it going to take for ads to work for you. Sometimes maybe it takes a month, sometimes maybe it takes 6 months to really figure it out. The thing with your budget is you're in control of it the whole time. So if something's not working, you can turn it off and fix it. And that's the big mistake that I see with a lot of people is they blow through a bunch of money because they're paying an agency to actually go out and run all the ads for them. And so on top of paying the agency, they're paying for the ad spend. The agency blows through tens of thousands of dollars because they just, it's not their money. They don't really care that much. And so I think the best thing you can do in the beginning, if you want to test your offers with a low budget, is make sure that you have control, because then you can test quick and you can move quick. And once it's working, then you can hand the machine off to somebody else and let them do like the scaling and all the ongoing work that it takes to keep making it work. But again, unless your market is so small that you've only got a couple of thousand potential customers, it's very likely that ads work for you. And the test is someone else running ads in your market? Because if they're making it work, you can make it work too. So with that mindset in place, let me tell you my exact strategy that I use every time we're starting with a new offer and running ads. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk you through our entire framework on how we actually test new offers with Facebook ads. But my suggestion that I tell everybody when they're getting started is I would expect to spend $100 a day. That gives you enough data and actually enough budget to go through and get some real feedback on if your funnel is working without like strangling the machine so much that it can't actually get you any like real good results. The thing with a lot of businesses is, again, talking with a lot of business owners, if they're paying an agency or whoever else, they've got all these other fees on top of it. On top of that, people tell them like they need to spend this money for months in order to figure out if this works. That's not the case. You're in control the whole time, and you can tell within a couple of days if your money is being well spent and what you should do next. So let me walk you through really quick the actual framework that we use. So one of the most important things to start with when you're just getting started testing a budget is what is your actual funnel that you're using? And so there's a couple that a lot of people really start with, especially when you're selling high ticket offers. And like some people run DM content funnels. So they're, running content as ads. They're trying to get people to follow them on Instagram, DM them. This is a strategy that I think is pretty easy to validate because you're quickly getting conversations with going started with people. You don't need a huge budget to do that. This is where I see people maybe even potentially start with less than $100 a day. But like, honestly, I don't run a lot of these because we don't spend a lot of time in the DMs managing it that way. And VSL call funnels. This is my go-to. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how we do the whole testing process. The reason I love this one is because you can sell a high ticket offer, but your call to action is to get someone on the phone. So again, your feedback loop is really good and it's really fast. Like you're getting people on the phone who are talking, who have just seen your ads, and you can hear what they liked about your offer. You can hear what they're seeing in other competitors and what they're liking in their offers. You can get really good feedback. So you're either closing people into a high ticket offer or you're learning really fast with every call. The other thing that I see a lot of people run are like low ticket offers and webinars. The reason I don't like testing with these is because it's tough to figure out if these are going to work, and you need a way bigger budget with these types of funnels. Yes, you could test a low ticket offer for like a couple $1,000. The problem is, for most people, you start running a low ticket offer, you start to get some sales, but you're not actually profitable. And so you got to figure out, one, how do you get the funnel profitable, which is a lot of work. And then two, you got to figure out if you can actually ascend people from low ticket to high ticket, which is a big problem for a lot of people, especially when they're getting started. So unless you're like a real CRO marketing ninja, this one's tough. Webinars, same thing. Like you just have a really low feedback loop. You're sending people to a webinar, you're spending thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to get enough people on the webinar. And then if people buy or if they don't buy is like, you're looking at numbers on a spreadsheet. Like, oh man, did people go through my webinar and give me $1,000 or $2,000? If not, why didn't they like it? Where did they drop off? All this stuff. You're asking questions, but you're just looking at like spreadsheet numbers versus these first two funnels, you're actually getting like real feedback from the market. You're talking to people and finding out what they like. I just really like VSL sale call funnels because they worked really well for us. If you're not super familiar with VSL sale call funnels, they're pretty simple. So we just run an ad to a landing page. People can opt in on that landing page. That next page, we have a video sales letter. So this video sales letter is usually anywhere from 10 to maybe max like 25 minutes, but it's where we dig into like, what is their pain? We walk them through the outcome that we can help them get. We show them our plan. So our unique method for doing things. We also share a little bit about our philosophy so they can connect with us and who we are. And then we push them to a call. So we're not asking them to give us money. We're asking them to get on the phone with us. And I find that ask makes things way, way easier. So really this video is just like selling people on who you are and what you can do for them. Then if they want to move to the next step, they fill out an application, they book a call on the calendar, we send them to a thank you page. We've got a whole pre-sales process where we warm people up with like videos and social proof and all that stuff, but that's kind of a different video. And if you're running this funnel, again, the great thing is your big number that you're watching on a daily basis is actually just how many calls did you get booked and what is the quality of those calls. So for example, I had a client just a couple of weeks ago. He had a new offer. He didn't have any organic following. He was actually looking at going this webinar route. And I told him like, man, I think that's going to be a tough way to go. Let's get you set up with a VSL sales call funnel. And let's make sure that like we can validate that this offer is going to work by talking to people on the phone. He agreed with me. So we got that set up. By day two, so 2 days in, he was spending $100 a day. By day 2, he had calls booked on the calendar. By day 3, he was actually talking to people on the phone. And by day 5, he had his first call. So like, again, you're in control the whole time with your budget. And I have found that's the best way to make these work. So you get this funnel set up. How do you actually run the ads? And we just run lead campaigns, optimize for conversions because we want to optimize for what's happening in the funnel. And down here in the funnel, we'll actually optimize for like whatever event we can get enough data going to the funnel in order to make that work. So that is oftentimes leads if you're just starting, or if you've got enough like throughput, or you've actually had some like organic traffic through this funnel, you can start to optimize deeper in the funnel. Maybe you can optimize for applications or book calls. Again, another video, I'll throw out some links in the description below to go over all of that, how you want to like optimize these things. But here's your budget layout. So campaign, we do CBO and we do $100 a day. Inside, we have 3 ad sets. So we've got usually like an interest, a lookalike, and a broad if we're just getting started. And my general rule that I have followed for a long time that works really well for us is we do CBO campaigns with minimum ad set budgets. And so if we're spending $100 a day, we take that, we divide it by 2. So what's half of it? And that's $50 a day. And then we split out that 50% across the ad sets that we have. So here, rounded up, it's about $17 a day. So we're saying, Facebook, we want you to spend $17 a day testing each one of these audiences and these ads that go with it. And then the other 50% you can allocate to what's working best. So that way we use a little bit of the CBO, but we're also kind of forcing some spend to get some good data. And then inside each ad set, we have 7 to 15 different ads with different themes, messages, and visuals so that we're kind of leveraging the new Andromeda update in order to make sure that we've got different messaging, we've got videos and images in there. And we're finding out what's going to work best. We're giving the algorithm like enough stuff to work with, and we kind of let it go out and find its people. So that's how we set up the whole campaign. So sticking with the idea, we want to be spending less than $3,000 in order to test this offer. Again, what I really like about these VSL sales call funnels is like the thing we're looking for is calls with quality prospects. And so we usually only pay between like $100 and $300 per call, depending on your offer and your market. And so we're starting to get calls and see, are we attracting the right people? What are they saying about our marketing? How sold are they on the process and what we can do for them and all that stuff? And it gives us a really good, quick feedback loop for high ticket offers. So this is what it looks like for the first 3 weeks. So in week 1, we're just looking for signs of life. So like we want to see that we're actually getting calls booked, we're getting engagement, something is working. If we're getting sales and we're like making money, we can actually just start increasing the budget. So kind of like I shared with you earlier in the video, like I had a client by day 5, by the end of the first week, he was getting sales. We were having calls with quality people. He was getting sales. So it was like, cool, signs of life. We're doing good. Just start spending more money, go from there. And I had another client who, again, like I said, you don't always hit a home run right at the beginning. He had good engagement on his ads. He had people opting in. He only had one call booked, and we looked at the numbers and it was like, man, his landing page conversion rate was just terrible. So it's like, okay, people seem to like what we're doing, but something's off because we're not really generating the results that we want. And going into week 2, we just look at the data. We're actually using the data that we're getting from the campaigns in order to decide what to do better. And we're just implementing fixes. So in the example of the one that's not working good, we started testing like better messaging on the ad and the landing page, because the landing page isn't working great. It's like, it's the ad and the landing page. It's not just the landing page. So those go together. So we started testing new messaging, and like that was week 2. And then after week 3, like at this point, we should be talking to people regularly on the phone and having good conversations. If we're not, something's not working, we need to go back to the drawing board and figure out like, okay, it's either a messaging or an offer issue. Like at this stage, it's very unlikely that you've got like some kind of media buying problem. Like if you set up your tracking correctly, you're optimizing for the right thing, and you just set up simple ad sets with ads in them, like it's either a messaging or an offer issue. Like it's not really going to be anything else. But again, for you to be able to stay in control as you're implementing these things, because this is a question I get a lot, is like, man, when should I look at these things? So this is what I always tell people. After you launch any ads, so when you launch your first week of ads, or if you're implementing tests in week 2 or whatever it is, in the first 24 hours, you want to check, but this is just a problem check. Like don't jump in and start looking for things to fix or touching anything. Like we don't really want to implement changes. This is just to see like, are the ads spending, or did a bunch of ads get disapproved, or is something just not working at all? Are we getting like we have 7 leads in our CRM and there's 0 tracked in the Facebook pixel. So something's clearly not working. Like we're looking for problems, making sure like tracking and everything's working, but we're not touching anything. After 3 to 4 days, we're looking for those like signs of life and making sure the algo has the data that it needs. So one thing that we know from, running a lot of Facebook ads is like whatever we're optimizing for here in this event, Facebook needs to see these popping up in the results column to know that it's doing a good job and it can go find more people who are doing that. So like if you're optimizing for people who book calls and you're not getting any calls booked after 3 or 4 days, the algorithm's going to get lost. Like it's not getting the data that it needs in order to make the decisions that it can to go find more people who are taking the action that you're asking for. So this is where we're like checking in the data, making sure that we're seeing some signs of life inside the campaign, and that the algorithm is getting what it needs in order to continue to optimize the campaign. But assuming like, let's say you're optimizing for leads, you're getting leads, you've got signs of life, you've got a couple calls booked in the next couple days. So you're going to start talking with prospects. All that stuff's coming out good. Then we just let it run. After 7 days, that's when we sit down and do like a full analysis. So like 6 to 7 days, if you're spending $100 a day, that's when we would sit down and go like, okay, what ads are working? What's not? Where did we get good calls from? What audiences are not working? Because oftentimes what we see is like, we'll jump in and it's like, man, you jump in and you see like, okay, all the ad spend went to like 2 ads. The lookalike audience didn't do anything. We got a couple of good calls from broad, and like interest was doing best. This is usually what happens with new campaigns, because broad doesn't have enough data on the pixel in order to actually go find the right people. Interest is just a suggestion anyways at this point, so it's just like giving it the direction it needs. We find the ads that are working best. We look at the calls that came in. If we got a couple of sales, what's the messaging and ad that they saw? Great. And now what we need to do is like, we can just go do more of what's working. So we can go make some variations of the ad that's working, kind of work on that messaging, dial that in. We could potentially test that messaging on the landing page, so there's a little bit more congruency. And then we could launch with, a new ad set that just has the top audience with some new ads and some new kind of hypothesis on how we think we could improve the campaign. And then we just get into week 2 and we look for improvement. And that's how we can go through and test these things. And again, sometimes it takes a few iterations. Sometimes you get it right on the first try, but it's very uncommon for most people. And then sometimes, you go through this process of iteration a few times. And once you start getting into, the end of week 3, week 4, the beginning of the next month, you start to see improvement in your ads. And the whole time you're having conversations with prospects. Hopefully you're getting some sales. If you're selling high ticket, you can make that money back really easily. And then you can go forward and like optimizing your campaign, being in control of your budget the whole time. And again, with that strategy, like you're using this $100 a day to get enough data to make smart decisions. And so you can actually see like, are people engaging with your ads? Is that the issue? Are people losing at the landing page? Is that the issue? Are you losing people in the funnel? Is that the issue? Are you losing people in the sales process? Is that the issue? And you can actually make some data-driven decisions. And like, it's usually pretty obvious once you start to get some people actually flowing through the funnel where the bottleneck is. Like if your ads suck, or if your ads are getting good engagement but your funnel's not converting, or if you just have like a sales issue in a closing process. If you get through 3 weeks, you've spent like a little bit over $2,000 and just nothing is working, like there's something fundamentally wrong with either like your offer or your messaging. That's pretty much always what it is. And so if nothing's working, you can just like go back to the drawing board and kind of figure out how you need to tweak your offer, your messaging. If something's working, but you're not profitable, or you're not like wildly profitable, like maybe you're getting a couple of sales, but you're like not really making any money after that you take into consideration like operating costs and what it takes you to fulfill your offer and all of that stuff, then it's like, okay, keep the budget the same, just keep it running, because you're break even. You're not losing money to test all this stuff. And then what you can do is just make your optimization decisions based on the data that's coming in. And then if it's working, like if you're starting to spend, again, I had a client, again, this doesn't happen all the time, but like recently had a client, I think he's made like $30,000 off of like $3,000 in ad spend. Like he had a great offer. The messaging was dialed in. He knew exactly who he was talking to. They responded super well. They started buying his offer over the phone. And so for him, it's just like, cool, it's working. Let's just spend more money on this campaign. Let's just go into this CBO ad set or at budget and just start increasing the budget 20, 30% every couple of days and just crank it up. So that's what you can do. You don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars in order to test Facebook ads. I think there's a real advantage, especially these days. Like if you're able to figure out how to test without having to spend the money on an agency and the money on the budget and let them try it for a couple of months. But actually what you can do is like take control over yourself. Just go high ticket, go over the phone, sell your offer that way, get great feedback from the marketplace, figure out how to dial all this in, and then you can go about doing all the other stuff. But you can test and validate without like a ton of risk. And then once it's working, you can actually like scale with more confidence, knowing what's working and having a better idea of like how to make sure this all works and what's the messaging and all that stuff. So that's it. Like start with $100 a day, commit to like at least a 3-week process to test that funnel and that offer positioning and see if that works. Again, and you kind of got the whole blueprint of like, if it's working, just start spending more, do more of what works. If it's kind of working, you can start dialing things in, because at this stage, it's really like an offer or message it gives you. And if it's just not working at all, you spend $3,000 and you get, $2,000, you get absolutely nothing. Then what you can do is like go back to the drawing board, because you have either an offer or a messaging issue. But just like track the metrics along the way. It's pretty easy to see the bottlenecks as they come up, and you can optimize based on data and not like your emotions and how you kind of feel about the whole thing and all that stuff. So that's why I really like this offer testing process. So if you have a low budget strategy that's working better for you, drop it down in the comments below, because I love to check these things out. I'm a geeky marketing guy too. So let me know in the comments below. Also, if you want some help implementing this exact system, just check out that first link down in the description. That's it for this video. If you want to see exactly how we're like structuring campaigns post Andromeda with all this update that's going on, check out the video that's probably popping up my face right over here somewhere. Other than that, I hope you have a great day out there, and I hope to catch you in another video here soon.